Hi students, morning. Let's start our revision episode. This is your Political Science 9 chapter, Struggles for Equality. Okay, actually this one is very simple chapter. We already discussed about what do you mean by equality. Actually this chapter is a continuity for our chapter 5. We know that unit says grows with girls and boys, that kind of gender discrimination and the situations of gender discrimination and what was the effects of gender discrimination. So we discussed about that kind of information and that kind of topics in our previous chapter and previous classes, right? So this chapter is also deals with the equality. What? Equality. So what do you mean by equality? You know that, yeah. If we are say in person and then do not have any kind of discrimination as gender, in race, gender, say that means caste, religion and economic status and social status. If we have that kind of discrimination, that is not we say that equally. So what do you mean by equality? That means all are same, all are equal under a law and our country. So that says equality. So all people are equal. That is the idea of equality. There is no discrimination on the basis of gender, caste, religion, economic status, social status, etc. So if we have that kind of discrimination, that is not equality, that is inequality. That is inequality. Inequality is actually one of the problems in our society. Actually, it has so much of reasons behind inequality. There is maybe economical reasons and our cultural and our belief is also a factor for inequality. In this chapter deals with the struggles for equality. That means some community or some people need equality. So after a long time, after for their sacrifices and their pain, after that their struggles, they raise their voice for equality, right? They raise their voice for equality. That is actually creates a change in our society. We know that after independence or before independence, actually on the period of Britishers gives more important or give more respect in our society, for high class people. That means they have their own land or that much of money, so they have trade or that kind of people give or get more respect from the British rulers. At the same time, the poor, they do not get that much of respect or that much of opportunity, etc. So in that situation also create a conflict between poor and rich. Actually, inequality is most importantly shows in the gap between rich and poor. And high and low. That means high class people, low class people, that is the difference. Okay, so this kinds of discrimination or this kinds of difference or gap between rich and poor or high class people or low class people are created what? Inequality in our society. Inequality in our society. When it is happened in our society, it's also, we can say that is an inequality or unequal society. So the people are different in many ways and it's actually happened for that it's discriminated. Some community, some people, some group of people are suffering from this kinds of discrimination. So this chapter deals with the struggle against or the fight against inequality. That's we can say. Fight against inequality. So the people need equality or equal opportunities and equal respect, etc. So they reason? What was the reason for inequality? We know that in our country we are democratic, right? So we have the people have the right to choose their representatives. That is called democracy. So in that democratic country or under the democratic country, all people are equal for election purpose or for that vote, the right to vote. Each and every adult have the equal right. They have the equal right to choose their representative. So that first concept of in our textbook, that is shows that the right to vote. Right to vote. An 18 years adult person can participate in election process. We know that, right? Yes. So what happened? Just think, before the independence, the rich, we already told that under the British government, the Britishers give more importance for the rich people. So they have the right to participate their government programs and elections, etc. So at that time, the poor, mainly the women, do not have the right to vote. After independence, our government, okay, so our government decided to give that right. Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, etc., the freedom fighters, our governments give that right to all adults in our country. That is known as the universal adult franchise, right to vote. So in that way, we are equal. So there is no any kind of discrimination between economical status, social status, caste, religion, etc. Even if gender. Okay, so right to vote is actually says that all people are equal under the law. In a democratic country, all people are equal. There is no discrimination. Okay, so first question, that is, what do you think it mean by the expression power over the ballot box? Power over the ballot box. Power over the ballot box. So this topic also deals with the importance of right to vote. We know that we have election, that kind of the ballot box is related to election, right? So in a democratic country, in an adult, 18 years adult person, if any person, all people are equal for right to vote for choosing their representative. That is actually the choice of that people. Okay. So power over the ballot box. In this way, we are equal. But we choose a representative. The representative created government. This representatives organized in an assembly. They create a government, and we have a government. So after this election, some kind of works have done with government. So look at that box. Most of the people want the governments actually work for their needs. So because of that, we elected our representatives, right? Yes. So some way the government think, or the members or the representatives think they are profit. So because of that, they help the rich or the high class peoples in our society. That is actually created a conflict between poor and rich or high and low class peoples. That is kind of inequality in our country. So on the basis of the right to vote, we are equal. In a rich people have one vote for election. At the same time, a poor person have also the same one vote. The equal, they are the one vote are equally valuable, right? So after this election, a government formed in that particular country or state. After that, the government decided to give more programs for the benefits for or high class or private schemes, etc. So that is actually balanced. these kinds of equality. Okay. So in this chapter actually deals with reasons of what are the reasons for inequality in our country. We know that India is a very vast country. We have populated, so we know that we are the second populated country in the world. So we have a lot of people in our country, and actually that is not easy to say equally both of the peoples. So that is actually tough thing, but the government actually wanted, or the responsibilities of the government actually treat equally in each person. Okay. So the reasons for inequality. Reasons for inequality, right? So what are the reasons for inequality? On your text there is clearly written about that, because first of all we see that India is a vast country. We have a lot of people. That means we have overpopulated country, or we have populated country. We are populated country. Okay. So because of that, the lack of resources, for example, the food and job, money and health services, so education system, these are actually one of the examples for resources. So each these resources actually get an equal amount of in this society, but what is the reality? This doesn't happen in our society. That was the main reason for inequality. First one, that is that one is poverty. Poverty. What do you mean by poverty? Yeah, if a community or a person do not get their basic needs, that means their proper food, water and job and shelter, right? So these kinds of situations also create poverty. We know that in our country, poverty rate actually increased in these years, because what? First thing, that is the current situation is very bad. Because of that we face poverty, and actually unemployment also creates one of the reason for poverty. Unemployment also create the reason for poverty, because what do you mean by unemployment? That means person have graduated, the people are educated, but they do not get enough job for their life or for their pressure. That kind of situation is unemployment. If the person willing to do the job, but he or she do not get that job, that condition is unemployment. We know that we have several kinds of unemployment: seasonal unemployment, permanent unemployment. So that kinds of also we will learn about your upper classes. Okay. So first one, the poverty. Actually poverty, one of the reasons for unemployment, and unemployment is one of the reasons for poverty. That is interrelated. Okay. So what do you mean by poverty? We already discussed about that, the condition of poverty. That means if a person do not get their basic needs, what are the basic needs? Yeah, shelter, clothes, food. These are the basic needs for a person. So this kinds of basic needs do not get a person, that is called poverty. If we have, or the person have a proper shelter, we know that. Look at the slums areas, there is a lot of tent, we can see a lot of tent, and people are living that particular tent. More than 5 or more than 10 people are actually live in a same proper or a small tent. Actually they have not get a sufficient job. Because of that they do not get 3 times meals. Now we get 3 times meal. Morning when we have breakfast, lunch and night we eat dinner, right? So this actually the poor people do not get that much of food. They get in even one cup there is no food in some place. That kind of situations we told that there is poverty. Okay, there is poverty. Actually, the government implements so much of programs for reducing poverty rates, and we know that the classification of BPL, APL. So we know that means APL, that means above poverty line, BPL, that means below poverty line. So why the government implemented that kind of plan, and why the government give the rations? It is actually for the reduction of poverty rate in our country. So in a BPL ration cards, the people get more rice and wheat and other grains for a low cost, because for what? For their poverty situation. Okay, so the government implements so much of problems for reducing poverty. That is actually created for what? To maintain the equality. Okay, so the next one, that is the lack of resources. Lack of resources. What do you mean by lack of resources? We already said that food and natural and other kinds of jobs, money, wealth, health, condition, health services, education. So that is also kind of resources. Just look at in the village or a rural area, there is also we can see a lot of poor people, and they get their daily life money for making their life. So actually in that situation, they do not get high education and better health care. They do not have that much of money for spending education or health services for better rates. Based on that situation, we can say that the resources actually do not get equal level in our society. Just look at that. In the case of money, the rich people have a lot of money. So because of that, we call that they are the rich persons or rich people. So look at the same. If the same condition actually in a country, we face the same economical crisis and we face the same economical condition. But look at the difference between a rich person and a poor person. The rich get more money and they get more resources, more opportunities. Look at the poor, they do not get that much of money. Maybe they does not get enough money or no money. They have no money and they get do not get that much of opportunities, etc. So that is also create inequality. That is actually the reason for lack of resources. Actually, behind this reason, that is actually allocation, distribution of resources. This is in our society. We know that is our society or social condition. That is our social condition because of the lack of resources, and the distribution of resources is does not do in the equal way. The people do not get the equal resources. That is the changes of, that is reason for the distribution. That is the lack of distribution says that is the reason for the distribution of resources. Okay, the next one. Okay, the poverty and lack of resources and employment also the reason for inequality in our country. Okay, so the next reason of inequality, we know that we have some social thoughts in our society. Most of the societies or places believe that the caste system and the religion, we have some kind of discrimination. Okay. So discrimination. What do you mean by discrimination? Which means the people in different ways, and we know that we create a conflict between, or we thought that our social, that is our social belief or social structure. Because why we saw that, or why we behave like that, that is country. Okay. So after this kinds of inequality, lot of people are fed up with this kinds of inequality. So some of groups or some communities do not get their needs and their opportunities, and they face so much of discrimination in our society. After this kinds of inequality, after this kinds of situations, they are fed up. So they actually started protest against this kinds of inequality. In India, we know that we have a lot of people and we have a lot of population. We are populated country, right? In India, it is the case of the poor consists of the majority of members of Dalit, Adivasis and Muslim communities and are often women. Okay, so look at this. If we take the poor concept, the concept of poor. Okay, so first thing in our mind, we thought that some kind of communities are poor, right? For example, the Dalit, Adivasis, and Muslim communities. And also women. So we thought that these people or the communities are poor. First of all, we think these kinds of people, Dalit, Adivasis, Muslim communities and women. Why? Because their social situation and their economical situation, the most important thing, their caste and religion, right? So that is also create a poor thought of this. Because of that, the society think, the government thought that they are poor, and the people also think that they are poor. So we treat like that, right? We treat like these people, or they are poor, or they are low class people. So because of what, we do not want to achieve or give more opportunities for these people. Why we give that? They are also poor, they are economically backward, and they are low class people, they are low that means low caste people. So why we give that much of opportunity for that? That is not used for them. So this kind of thought actually in our society, people thought like that. So because of that, they are become more and more poor. Then after that, the government actually has some responsibilities for these communities, and government gave reservations and and a lot of economical plans, and actually they give more important for these kinds of communities. We know that SC/ST, scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, these kinds of reservations, we have a lot of reservation in just look the the education sector. These kinds of people, SC/ST, Muslims and backward people, other backward caste, on the caste, they have reservations, right? So we have the classification in general, OBC, SC/ST, and what is the kinds of Muslim communities, etc. So they have this kinds of reservation in our education system. Why the government implemented this kinds of reservation? For the well-being of these kinds of communities, right? So this is actually for the This is actually for the proof of power inequality, and government also have the responsible for reducing the inequality level in our country. Because of that, the government implement a lot of projects and plans for the well-being of or the welfare for the communities. Okay, so we already number 4, there is also a picture showing that. Okay, so look at this. According to the 2011 census, women from 48.5% of the population, Muslim from 40.2% of the population, SC from 16.6% and STs for 8.6%. So these people are poor in our concept. Okay, so the women, according to 2011 census, women from 48.5% and Muslims, right? Muslims from 14.2% and SC, that means scheduled caste, from 16.6% and STs, that means scheduled tribes, 8.6%. 8.6%. Okay. Coming from the poor in our country on the basis of 2011 census. Okay. So after this kinds of struggles, what of people are fed up because of this inequalities. After this inequalities and after the bad effects for the inequalities, they are started in protest against this kinds of inequalities, right? These kinds of inequalities. In our next concept, that is struggles for inequality, why the people raise their voice. We know that for equality, in our Constitution, Indian Constitution, Article 14 deals with the right to equality. We have the Article 14 says that the fundamental right to equality is a fundamental right. That means our fundamental, that is we need that. That is our right. That is our right. That is not for donation. That is our right. We need that. So people started to raise their voice for equality. Okay. Right to equality is a fundamental right. Fundamental right. Clear? So look at this. There is an example for the struggles for equality on your textbook, that is what the Tawa Mastya Sam. In short, we can say that Hmcs. This is actually held in Madhya Pradesh, and actually with that we know that there is a dam for this Madhya Pradesh, this region, and most of the people, actually the river, not dam, the river, and most of the people or all people depending this river. And what happened? The most of the people are related to this dam as some kind of fishing activities and agriculture activities, and they get water from this river, and also other kinds of some BD workers and police. They are also working based on this river. Okay, so the government decided to construct a dam for there, and because of the construction of that dam, the government look at the situation, and the government says that because of the construction of the dam, most of the people lost their shelter because the construction of dam lose their proper shelter at that place. So after government decided to give that their groups of people for their living, so they give land, but that is actually not related to the people, because the people are related to the river, and they also know about that catching fish on the river and agriculture for the availability of water. So because of that, they migrate in another place that is not suitable for their works. So the people also have a lot of pains and they are suffering from that particular situation. And they decided to ask the government. The people need justice and they need equal rights. So they have it. That is land, as actually the land is there, the people's land, and the people are also related to work with that dams. And after the construction of this dam, government decided to take the permission to the private scheme for capturing or catching fishes in that particular dam. That is also badly affected for the poor people or that particular region peoples. Actually, the right of catching fish for that is actually related to that particular place, religion, or to that particular people. But the government decided to give to this permission to capture fish for a private company. That is actually creating a large conflict between the local people and governments. Look at your textbook. There is actually people usually came together and fight against this condition. Actually, what was the reason for this place? The displacement of the people, or the migration. They forcibly displaced for their land. That is also that was the real reason for the fight against this people and the government. Okay, so they are the Mafia Sang, actually a federation for fisher workers cooperatives, an organization fighting to the rights of the displaced forest dwellers of the Satputra forest in Madhya Pradesh. That was the correct definition of Gawa Masyasa. This is actually, we know that it is held in Madhya Pradesh. It's an organization actually based on the fisher workers in that near the Satputra forest. So that why? Because the people are related to that river. So after the construction of the dam, most of the people forcibly displaced their land. That is also created fight against government and these peoples. And originating the Mahotsals of Chhindwara district, the Tawa forced through Bathwals before joining the Narmada. The and actually they have completed the dam. The government, they have built their dam in 1958 and it's finished in 1978. And after finishing this construction of this dam, the government gave the permission to capture fish for a private scheme. That is actually created huge problem between the local people and government. After the fight and the people raised a huge fight. And for the succession, we can see that is actually a success. And after in 1996, the Madhya Pradesh government decided to give the people displaced by the Tawa Dam the fishing right to reservoir. And a 5-year lease agreement was signed 2 months later. On January 2nd, 1997, people from 43 villages Tawa started the new year with the first catch. That was the result of the TMS in Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so what is that? That is the right to capture fish for the right, that is the local people. So the people have the right to capture because they are related, or long time they lived near the river, so they know that surroundings. But so then why government decided to give that permission to capture the fish, the permission to a private scheme? that is actually badly effective for the local people, because the local people actually related to lead this kinds of works. Okay, so we can see that members of TMC protesting at the rally under page number 107, and cooperating weighting of the fish. So the TMS talking, so the fish workers were able to increase their earnings substantially. After this TMS, the organization, after this effect, the fisher works get more money. Look at that condition. They get more money and they started a better life, lead their better life. So that is it. Before the situation, the people are become very poor because of that inequality. So the government preached more better for the private schemes or private or high class schemes. So after this fight, after they get that right to capture the fish, after that the fishing workers get more money. They are getting earnings, more earnings. After that they started their life so much more better. And the cooperative would then arrange transport and sell these markets where they would times more than they earned earlier. So the TMS has also begun giving the fish workers loans for repair and buying of new nets and managing to earn higher rates that was presenting the fish in reserve. So look at that condition. They started their life in much more better after the fight. Okay, the next concept in your text, that is the Indian Constitution as a living document for equality. So we already discussed that. Which article says that the right to equality? Yeah, Article 14. Article 14, Indian Constitution, leave that. That is, this is our fundamental right. This is our fundamental right. We have the right for equality. If someone can break that right, so we can applaud or we can face in legal ways for that particular problem. We have the rights. Okay, so in this concept that we know that the foundation of all women for justice and the inspiration for all poverty and songs of equality. That is a poem also in page number 108. The right to know. Right to know. That is also this song. This song is also raised so much of questions in our society. Why we do not know the right to why we do not know about our current social situations, and why don't they ever come true, and why researchers have to breaking this equality in our country. So these kinds of questions also raised in this poem. Just read the poem. Okay, so in the Indian Constitution recognize the equality of all persons. Movements and struggles for equality in India continuously refer to the Indian Constitution to make their point about equality and justice for all. We know that right to equality is Article 14 says that the people are equal and there are law in our country. That in a democratic country, all people are equal. There is no discrimination. That is the highlight point. There is no discrimination on the basis of economic, social, and cultural, caste, religion, gender, etc. So we are equal. We are equal. Okay. We are equal. Okay. So and there is also a picture of this girl or a woman started to sing like protest, and it's also based on for the gender equality. And just read your text carefully. Okay. So over 1,500 persons attended a public hearing in Lucknow in 2001 to protest violence against women. Why being in our country or in our society increase this violence? Because of the gender discrimination. The male or the society think that the male persons are highly talented and physically strong, so they give more respect. After those situations, the government implemented a lot of laws, a lot of programs for the benefit of women, and a lot of rights to encourage our empowerment for the women. Okay, this chapter is okay. So what was the main concept of this chapter? First one, the reason for the what do you mean by equality, right? Equality and inequality. Equality and inequality. Reasons for inequality. Reasons for inequality. And what was the next? Struggles for equality, right? Struggles for equality. That means the protest. And the TNS, and the Constitution. These are the most important concepts in this chapter. Okay. So read your text and your note, and all the very best for your exam. Okay. So let's wind up our class. Take care.